This is a video of a paddle on the Jordan River in Utah. Every September, the Jordan River Commission and cities and counties along the river host a month-long Get to the River festival with a variety of fun, free activities along the river. This is the 2023 paddle from Draper's Jordan River Rotary Park at 12300 South to the South Jordan Shields Lane Trailhead Park at 9800 South. Salt Lake County built new boat ramps in these parks in 2022.
First of all, welcome to our fourth in our Paddle the Jordan River series. This is one of my favorite stretches of the Jordan River. The stretch that we're paddling today is about, I think, 4.5 miles. So we're at Rotary Park here in Draper. We're going to paddle through Draper on this side of the river. Riverton's on the west side of the river. Then we'll pass, and then we'll enter into South Jordan when we get up to about 114th South. And then we'll be in South Jordan the rest of the way. The location that we're getting out today is Shields Lane, which is just before we get to the bridge at 100 South. So we're going to pass through 2 bridges before we get there. We'll go under 114th South. I recommend staying to the right side, river right. We'll also go underneath the bridge at 106 South or 104 South. That one's really easy to go under. Other than some murals which may turn your head, there's nothing there to see. We'll just go right under that one. The Jordan River is much smaller here because almost 100% of the river is diverted at the point of the mountain. There's 2 series of dams, one right on the Utah-Salt Lake County line and another one about 1.5 miles further down in Bluffdale near Perry Farms, if you're familiar with that. And at that point, there's really no river left. It's a little marshy, maybe a little trickle of water, and it accumulates. So this is probably the cleanest stretch of the Jordan River because most of the water here is either coming from tributaries, and the tributaries in this part of the valley are very small. A lot of it's seepage from groundwater, or it's coming out of the storm system. There are an awful lot of storm drains that drain directly to the Jordan River or tributary. And that's one of the things we're highlighting this month. Although we don't see a lot of it here, those of you that paddled last week with us in Salt Lake City, you see a lot of evidence of being at the bottom of the watershed. Here we'll see the river that's pretty clean. It's still relatively natural. There has been some bank stabilization, but we'll see a lot of areas where we'll see the bank eroding. So this is just a lovely stretch of the river. It's a part of the valley that's still developing, and as development's happening here, we're very fortunate that many of the cities around this area have been working to preserve natural lands, green space, parks, and open space around the Jordan River so that some of those natural river functions can continue to function. So this is a pretty healthy part of the river, and it's a really cool area to be. There are a few limbs that are down. You know, when we get windstorms or as erosion takes place, a tree or a branch or a limb will fall in. There are some that will probably block part of the river. So I believe we'll be able to navigate without having to get out. But there is a chance if there's a recent log that fell or tree that fell, we might have to do just a quick portage around it. The river's pretty shallow. There's a little more water today because of the rain over the last 24 hours, but the river's relatively shallow. If you do end up tipping or capsizing, I imagine the river will probably be up to about your knees, maybe your thighs at the deepest part. So it'll be real easy to stand up, get your boat uprighted, empty the water out. There's also a lot of sandbars here, and you can use those to tip water out if you need to. There are some areas that we'll see today that are actually pretty limited access areas. Eric McCulley's here. Eric, raise your hand. Eric's going to guide us as we pass through an area that's known as the Jordan River Migratory Bird Preserve. And those are properties that were acquired as part of some federal mitigation related to the Central Utah Water Project. And as part of that mitigation, they have acquired properties that are being transformed into wildlife habitat with very, very limited human access. This is a much smaller preserve. I'll let Eric describe that. We may stop at a couple of points so that Eric can highlight features that we're going to see in those areas. And it's pretty amazing that these lands are being preserved for wildlife habitat. you know, there is a lot of natural land like we see right here, but it's limited capacity of what it can provide for wildlife because there's humans and dogs and cats and other things. So it's pretty amazing that this preserve or this wildlife refuge exists for migratory birds, and we'll look forward to hearing more from Eric. Just a few safety precautions. We do require by state law in Utah that you have a life preserver on when you're in moving water. It's not required in lakes and reservoirs. It is on the Jordan River. I recommend just keeping your life jacket on and fastened and zipped and buckled at all times while you're with us today. Like I say, in the unlikely event you end up in the water, it's pretty shallow, but that's always there as an extra safety precaution for you. And we're really grateful to this commission, which is made up of about 30 different public agencies and business and nonprofit partners that are helping to preserve, improve, restore, and develop recreation opportunities around the Jordan River Parkway. And we just are really grateful for this partnership. Any questions before we launch? All right, let's go.
want to give rivers as much room as we can, and that's kind of some of what we're doing here. I also ask people to look on the left side or the west side of the river and the right side. What you'll see through here is the buildings grow on the left side and natural stuff grows on the right side, hopefully. But so it's a real stark contrast when you put buildings and parking lots up to the edge of the river versus when you have the ability to, save an area and preserve it for wildlife. The project that I manage is called the Jordan River Migratory Bird Refuge, but we put 3 outdoor classrooms. And we're trying to get students to come out here and not only do environmental restoration for us, but learn about the potential job opportunities there are in what I call the restoration economy. And I was privileged enough to run the Legacy Nature Preserve for 5 years, 2,000 acres. Right where the Jordan River goes into Great Salt Lake. So what we've done is we have these little areas that we sort of have, this, string of pearls or green necklace or whatever, where wildlife has a chance to live and thrive. And then it gets real tight where we've decided to pave up to the edges of it. But as much as we can give the river room, and then we can allow natural processes to work. That's better for people, better for wildlife, and it's better for quality of life and economic development as well. On this side of Lone Peak is where Willow Creek comes out of. We actually meandered Willow Creek out across the property, and there's a creek and ponds over here. So we have from here over to the condos, and then up to the houses, and then we go all the way down to where we're going to do the takeout.